What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bodacious Rant. A24, like most studios, not most studios, it's one of those studios that is very indie feel to it, and it kind of does usually do a lot of indie projects for the most part, but I think because they're growing in popularity the last few years, we're definitely going to start seeing movies that differ in quality, storytelling-wise, budget-wise, what have you. And this is the first one that I feel like just kind of fell flat. And so that movie is Death of the Unicorn, starring Paul Rudd and Ortega. It also features Tia Leone, Will Poulter, and Richard E. Grant. So really great cast all around. This is non-spoiler review. We're not going to get too much into it. So if you do happen to like the video and maybe the movie, feel free to give us that like. We do appreciate that, all the superficial affection. And then also, if you haven't done so yet, ring the bell to stay up to date for notifications. And, of course, subscribe. Appreciate you all for doing that, who have done it so far. This is a pretty straightforward story where, estranged father and daughter are taking like a trip, to reconnect in a certain way, but also for business purposes. And on the way up to the destination, they end up hitting an animal. And that animal turns out to be a unicorn, which, mythology-wise and all that stuff is all over the place with it. So, and that was actually kind of the part that was messed up, but it had a little humor to it at the same time. And because they kill it, that just brings about a very chaotic weekend. And I don't want to really spoil it too much after that. So I was interested in this movie just because I had this one book growing up. Actually, I remember a kid at school had it. Like, their dad brought it in for... I don't know if you ever had that, Bernie, or anybody who's watching this had it, where it's like your parents get to bring in, like, a book you love to read. Like, it was like a class thing that we had. And it was basically called Bestiary, where it was like a dictionary of animals, like mythical creatures. And unicorn was on there. So when I saw it in the movie, I kind of thought, holy crap, that's actually how it's supposed to look, where most pop culture is just a horse with a horn, but it actually could look very different. It could look very much like a horse. It could even look like a tiger kind of thing, or maybe even a goat, from what I remember. I haven't read that stuff in a while, and I haven't really done too much research, so if I'm wrong, I take responsibility for that. And the cast was exciting. Like, I really like Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega. I thought they were an interesting pairing. But after watching this, man, this cast did not just mesh well together. Maybe they're really cool outside of it, and that's awesome. But on screen, none of them really meshed well together. Nothing felt right about it. And even the effects when it came to the unicorns, it wasn't that good either for like a good portion of the movie. At least the last half I felt like was very just kind of on the Marvel side of just, yeah, you could definitely tell this was not the best. But Bern, what did you think about this movie?
Yeah, coming into it, I didn't really keep up with a lot of the marketing or really paid attention to a lot of the trailers. I think I saw like one trailer and I thought, okay, it's A24, it's got a cast I really like. I'm in. I'm gonna basically pretty much watch whatever they put out, and obviously the mileage varies with these more artsy movies, depending on people's taste whether it like works for them or not. And I was hoping this one would work for me, but yeah, the way that you put it, a lot of the things here, the sum isn't as good as its parts. I'll say that. I think individually, I think the performances are fun. You can tell that the actors here are having a good time working within this wild framework that they are in. I think Will Poulter especially was the standout for me in this one. He really felt like he nailed the tone that this movie should have had overall. I feel like I think it might be a directing issue where it feels like a lot of these different pieces don't feel like they come together quite right. And they're almost there, but they're not really there. In terms of like the way it's shot, I think it's fine. The soundtrack, I think, is fine. And again, the performances, I think, are okay, and if individually, it's just that you have actors doing different things where it feels like there isn't a lot of coherence there. And then that was a little bit frustrating throughout the movie. And it felt like it's a disservice to the themes that this movie does touch on, and I think it does touch on some really important things when it comes to medicine and how we experiment on animals and all these things. A lot of the same thematic elements that Jurassic Park would have. And so I feel like this almost feels like a satire on that same Jurassic Park type story. I just don't feel like it executes it on it at that well. And I feel like the second half of the movie is sort of where it really started to lose me when it came to that, when it gets to more of the monster movie elements of it. And it might be the opposite for other people. They might like the first half more and they might like the second half more. For me, I was more on the first half side of the movie. But yeah, overall, I just feel like it's just all over the place, and that was really disappointing coming into it because you see the cast and you see the story. It could be a lot of fun, and it does have fun at some points. It's just, again, overall, it just doesn't really quite work.
Yeah, and honestly, I do agree with you now that you were like talking about it. I did like the first half better. It's definitely the second half that I felt like, what is going on with this? Like, I feel like any potential good character moments or dialogue, I felt like flew out the window just because the way the story was going. It's almost like because the situation was hectic, the storytelling got like hectic. So, I mean, I know it's probably not the best way to put it, but that's just how it felt. Like the energy of like the story definitely translated into like the technical side of things. Where, like I said, the direction of it all just felt very jumbled. Definitely didn't really feel pieced together quite well. I do agree. Will Poulter was, if there was any part that was really funny, he was definitely the funniest one out of all of them. Paul Rudd his character was actually very unlikable for me. I actually could not stand him in this movie, and that's really a bummer. Jenna Ortega felt very like typecasted at this point. Like she's just that, grungy kind of goth girl that's kind of into herself or something. Not goth, but she's just very introverted, very dramatic or something going on. Just internal struggles. So I thought that was okay. I did like Richard E. Grant, Tia Leone. I thought they also added to the humor. I felt like maybe Tia Leone could have done a little bit more, so I don't know if that was the point of it all. But even then, all together, they just didn't have that same chemistry of like, okay, we're all in one scene together. It's like, no, there's two different things happening here. So, with all that being said, I'm gonna give this one a 2 out of 5. I wouldn't say it's an awful movie. I definitely am not going to shy away from anything any of these people are a part of, or A24 in general. Like A24 puts something out, I'm still probably going to go watch it 9 times out of 10. But this is definitely one of the few flops that they've had. And even the effects in the last half, I think I touched upon it, but just want to reiterate, it felt pretty weak, unfortunately. So, maybe a $5 Tuesday, but honestly, it wouldn't hurt if you waited to rent this or maybe for it to come on streaming. So.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I fall on it. If you're a big fan of A24 and you want to go check it out in the theaters, you certainly can. It is one of their weaker movies in their filmography, I feel like. But I do think there's still some elements of it that you can have fun with. It's just overall it doesn't work. But there's certain scenes, there's certain moments, and there's certain elements that might really connect with you, and some did for me, and that's why for me this one is going to be also a 2 out of 5. Where it doesn't all quite come together, but there were parts of it that I did really enjoy, and I feel like if they executed on it a little bit better, this could have been one of my favorites. But unfortunately, it didn't quite get there.
Honestly, again, this is probably the dumbest thought, but because I know it's Death of a Unicorn, it's very fantasy based, there were some parts that I think went too far fantasy for what A24 has done. Because I think they definitely strive best in like supernatural, like a grounded supernatural storytelling, or even borderline psychedelic. So I think this could have done it a little bit better, maybe grounded it a little bit better, like maybe more practical effects. But that's just me. That's my last thought on that one. But yeah, for those of you who did happen to watch it, please let us know what you thought. We'd love to hear your ideas and what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. Until next time, everyone, we got April's coming up, so April Fool's Day, don't be messed up on it. And a lot of my anticipated movies for the first half of the year are coming out next month, so super excited. Until next time, everybody, stay bodacious and keep on writing for us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.